As a follow-up to a recent video I did on this sewing machine, this is the Emdeko JA21. I've been asked to show how to do twin needle stitching on this machine. Now, I've already got a video on my channel showing how to use a twin needle on a sewing machine, and in that video I used 3 specific sewing machines. There was this one, this is Eddie, he's my Singer Touch and Sew 640. There was Jerome, he's my Janome QC 6260, and Simon, my Singer Simple. I chose those 3 specific machines for 2 very good reasons. The first reason was because they span the decades from the 70s through to present day, and the other reason was because one was vintage, that was a Touch and Sew, one was computerised, Jerome, the Janome, and the third one was just a manual, the Singer Simple. There was another reason why I picked those 3 machines, and it's something that they all have in common. And no, it isn't the fact that they've all got boys' names. There's something they all have that is essential to twin needle stitching. And it's not down to the number of spool pins that your sewing machine has got either. There are a couple of things your sewing machine is going to have in order for you to be able to use a twin needle. Number 1, it has to be capable of doing a zigzag stitch. Now, it's not the actual zigzag stitch itself that's important, but I'll get into that in a minute. The second thing that your sewing machine must have to be able to do twin needle stitching is it must be able to thread from front to back. Now, when I talk about a twin needle, what I'm actually talking about is a needle that looks like this one. You've got one shank at the top and you've got 2 needles attached by this little red connecting block in the middle. And you'll notice that the shank is actually central. That point's important, and I'll get to that in a second. If we take a closer look at the needle and where it fits into the machine on this Emdeko for a second, you'll see that in this particular instance the needle is slightly offset. It's not in the middle of the needle clamp. So this style of twin needle isn't actually going to work in this machine, because in order to put this needle in this machine, I'd need the hole to be in the centre of that needle clamp. Now, there are twin needles available out there, if you can find them, that have this shank offset a little bit so that it is on the left, and that makes it possible for some vintage machines that have the shank offset like this one to be able to use twin needles. In theory, but there is slightly more to it than that. If you think back to those 3 sewing machines I used in my previous video on twin needles for a second, the one thing that they've all got in common is they all thread from front to back. If we take a closer look at this twin needle, the eyes are here at the front, and the shank has a rounded side at the front and the flat side is here. The eyes are there. This needle needs to be inserted into a machine with the flat side facing the back, which means it can only be used on sewing machines that thread from front to back. And that's true even if this shank is a little bit further to the left. Those 2 needle eyes still have to be threaded from front to back. This Emdeko, as I mentioned in my previous video, threads from left to right, which means your twin needle would need to be inserted that way round. Because this machine threads from left to right, the eyes in that needle set need to be facing from left to right. If you put any needle in this machine in any other direction, it's not going to pick up the bobbin thread to make a stitch. And as it stands, with this needle facing this way, both of these points are in a line. The whole point of a twin needle is so that it sews two parallel lines along your fabric. Now, I said right at the very start of the video that to be able to do twin needle stitching, any sewing machine has to be able to do a zigzag stitch. Not because you need a zigzag stitch to do twin needle stitching, because you don't. Twin needle stitching has got to be a straight stitch. But the reason it needs to be a zigzag compatible machine is because both the hole in the foot and the hole in the needle plate need to be big enough for two needles to fit in there. And you'll see that the needle plate actually has that slot going horizontally, whereas for this machine to be able to do twin needle stitching, it would need to be vertical. So, in conclusion, the Emdeko JA21 is not a machine that is capable of twin needle stitching, and other machines that also thread from left to right are also incompatible with twin needles, regardless of whether that shank is in the middle or positioned on the left. So you're probably wondering why it's got two spool holders if you can't actually use two needles with it. Well, the answer to that one is a lot simpler, and I touched on the reason in my last video on this Emdeko machine, where I showed you how to thread it and how to wind a bobbin. The truth is, one spool is for threading the front of the machine, and this back spool is for winding the bobbin. And what that enables you to do is you can wind a bobbin at the same time as actually sewing your project. So in essence, this machine is actually a multitasking sewing machine. Although it has got a clutch that will allow you to turn the needle off to stop it going up and down when you wind a bobbin, you can actually wind your bobbin at the same time as sewing, which I think is brilliant because it means you don't have to unthread your needle to get your bobbins done. I hope you liked today's video, and I hope it's helped you figure out whether your sewing machine is going to be capable of sewing with a twin needle or not. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up, and why not consider subscribing to the channel and clicking that little bell just down below so that YouTube can let you know when I've uploaded another video. You can also become a member of the channel and benefit from extra perks like early access to my long form videos. Why not check out some of the videos that I've already got on the channel using the links coming up on the screen any minute now, or the ones I'll pop in the description box below for you. Whichever video you do check out, hope to see you back here for the next one. And in the meantime, whatever you're sewing it with, embrace your creativity and have fun. Thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.